I'm thrilled to welcome our two panelists from Morningstar today to lead us in a discussion on accelerating your career in tech through professional development programs. As I mentioned before, my name is Anna Shur-Wilson, and I am the program manager for career navigation at Women Who Code. So I'm thrilled to introduce our panelists today. So we're going to start off with Vijayita Bhardwaj. Vijayita is passionate about inclusive hiring, DEI, and women who tech, and she is a fierce advocate and strategic recruitment advisor. Vijayita grew up in Burlington, Ontario, where she had to face several challenges such as bullying, navigating unfamiliar pathways, and adopting a physical disability. Now residing in Toronto, Vijayita leads the Morningstar Development Program and Co-op program across Canada, where she's able to use her years of experience and knowledge to attract great talent. And Vijayita strives to ensure everyone feels welcome, safe, and heard everywhere, and she loves connecting and with all human beings. And then we'll hear from Anna Mukhina, and Anna is a product and technology leader with a decade of experience in financial data and analytics. She studied economics and computer science and is currently a senior manager of software engineering at Morningstar. Anna is most interested in discovering creative solutions through dialogue with clients and collaboration with a rich open source community. She is also passionate about building happy and productive engineering teams. So on that note, I'm going to stop my screen share here and pass it over to our wonderful panelists.
Here we go. Can everyone see my screen? Yep. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Anna. Okay. So welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are so excited for you to be joining us to learn a little bit about Morningstar and answer any questions as well. So before we begin, I would love to do a quick intro of ourselves. So as mentioned by Anna, myself and Anna Mukhina are here to speak on behalf of Morningstar. So I lead early careers programs in Canada. So that includes our Morningstar Development Program, which is a new grad program for those with 0 to 2 years of working experience. And there's a ton of great things going on within the MDP, which I'm going to touch on. And I am so delighted to have Anna Mukhina with us today, Senior Manager of Software Engineering as part of the Analytics Lab. She is bringing so much experience and passion for her work. And I'm so excited to get started. So we'll start off with our agenda. So we'll review Morningstar and our businesses, our culture, the MDP, Anna's journey, and we will end off with Q&A, which our Women Who Code team will help us with. So we are an ambitious, creative, and entrepreneurial group here, driven by our passion to help investors. Imagining the next big thing is what transformed us from a company with just a few employees in 1984 to a leading independent investment research company with a worldwide presence. We offer an extensive line of products and services for individual investors, financial advisors, asset managers, retirement plan providers and sponsors, and institutional investors in the private capital markets. We provide data and research insights on a wide range of investment offerings, including managed investment products, publicly listed companies, private capital markets, and real-time global market data. Morningstar also offers investment management services through our investment advisory subsidiaries. So a lot going on. We have over 11,000 colleagues in 29 countries. Our biggest offices are in Chicago, Mumbai, Toronto, London, and Madrid. Let's talk about our mission, empowering investor success. It guides everything that we do here at Morningstar. Individual investors have been our historical breadbasket, but we have since expanded to include private equity, institutional investors, advisors, and other offerings. By making investor knowledge easier to understand, we expand the scope of our mission while keeping our individual investors as our true north. Morningstar has a set of 6 core values that lie at the heart of everything that we do. And we use these core values to formulate our strategies and guide our business decisions. And we expect every employee to embrace and embody these throughout the course of business each and every single day. So investors first. Our strength comes largely from the faith our investors have in us to provide transparent data and research. Great products. We don't settle for good. By excelling in research, design, and technology, we strive to create industry-defining products that delight our clients and eclipse the competition. Great people. We want people who are smart, hardworking, curious, creative, and passionate about their work. We encourage employees to learn and grow throughout their careers. We recognize that every person here matters and contributes to our success, and we will go out of our way to attract, retain, and challenge and reward great people. This is also at the core of the MDP program. Uncompromising ethics. So Morningstar is successful because investors trust us. We always approach our work with absolute integrity and independence. We expect all employees to adhere to the highest ethical standards at all times, even if it costs us business. Entrepreneurial spirit. So this is still around as we grow as a company. If you ever have an idea, we say, let it fly. You don't have to wait to be an expert to try something new, which I think is so empowering. Financial success. We believe that when we pursue our mission of creating great products that help investors, financial success will follow, and sustainable responsibilities. So recognizing that we have our ESG organization under us, Sustainalytics, which I will touch on. So just making sure that we are aligned and we are keeping our compromise intact. So next, I want to highlight two parts of our business that have a heavy presence in Toronto. So the first is DBRS Morningstar, which is a global ratings business. DBRS provides credit ratings that touch on a variety of financial institutions, corporate entities, government bodies, and structured finance product sectors. We also have Sustainalytics, which has 25 years of experience in ESG ratings and research. If you're not familiar with the term ESG, it stands for environmental, social, and governance. And Sustainalytics currently has 1,200 plus professional staff with more than half engaged in research. Sustainalytics has also helped launch a big conversation on ESG at Morningstar internally. Employees have increased conversations on the importance of ESG data in the finance industry, as well as the importance of ESG in our day-to-day lives. So now that you've learned a little bit about our business, let's talk about our culture. So at Morningstar, we believe in our people, and I mean all of our people. Each and every one of us is made up of intersecting identities, experiences, and histories that are fundamental to the ways in which we understand ourselves and to the ways in which we see, understand, and engage with the world around us. When we talk about DEI at Morningstar, we're talking about it in a holistic way. So there's three areas here that we focus on. So diversity of thought. We're looking at our company demographics, how our employees perceive things, and how the infrastructure of our company as a whole works. Equity. We're taking actions now to close where we see gaps and create a future where these gaps do not exist. Inclusion, making sure to look at every individual experience as those are not always invisible on the surface. And now touching on a little bit of the awards that we have been recognized for. So here are a few of them. So Best Places to Work in Canada, Great Place to Work Certified USA, 100% Corporate Equality Index, Bloomberg Gender Equality Index, and Great Place to Work Certified India. So this touches a little bit more on our global presence as well, which is fantastic. We also have several employee resource groups, which I'm so quick to say ERG, but employee resource groups here. So these are just a few of them. We have over 20 of them currently, and anyone can create their own ERG here because we want to create as many communities as possible. So these are just a few of them. Some started in 2008, such as the Morningstar Women's Initiative. We have our Morningstar Learning and Living Diversely. We have Out at Morningstar, etc. So there are definitely different groups where everyone can join and feel that community aspect. So this is all to truly say that our employees are well thought of at Morningstar, and there is just a huge effort in making sure everyone feels like they belong. And now we'll go through an overview of our Morningstar Development Program and all that it entails. So this program truly fosters career development in professionals and better supports Morningstar's future growth by enhancing our talent pipeline. The program has actually been around for 20 years and has been funneling great people into our organization since then. Currently, there are over 200 MDPs in the program in Chicago, New York, and Toronto, which are the hubs for our program in North America. But in total, we have over 1,800 MDPs globally. So that includes EMEA and India as well. MDPs spread their talent across the entire organization. So from roles in client support to data, research, marketing, software development, analytics, people and culture, operations, and much, much more. And if we look at our program selection and process, so I know a hot question is always, what is the interview process? So this is what it looks like for Toronto. In Chicago and other areas, it does look a little bit different. So you will learn that as you go through the process, and I'm happy to answer any questions about this at the end as well. So we have our technology track and our business track here. So for both, there is a pre-recorded video interview. There's a first round 30-minute interview, a structured interview panel. So depending on which track you're in, it could be more technical or behavioral. And there's a case study for both and an assessment for the tech track. So tech is definitely a little bit heavier in terms of the technical skills that we're asking for, of course. And within the programs, we also have tons of resources and opportunities. So we have monthly workshops. We have a career center, which we call a career hub, where you're able to request a mentor. You're able to take part in an apprenticeship program, stretch projects, and of course, Morningstar is huge on coffee chat culture. And so we encourage that consistently as well. So in terms of the business program, all of our MDPs begin as an associate entry-level role within Morningstar, DBRS, or Sustainalytics, and you're able to really expand your expertise of our products, which we have over 300 of. You're able to build relationships with clients, understand our broad client base and breadth of products and research, and learn how clients use our data. Within the tech track or program, you begin as an associate software engineer, and you're able to consistently develop skills and experiences on different technology teams. And the goal at the end of the 2-year program is to become a software engineer or a related role of your interest. So this is just touching on a bit about the elements of the program itself. So really fostering the ability to develop and gain skills. As mentioned previously, there are numerous mentorship and networking events as well as stretch projects. An attractive plus is that MDPs have a compensation review twice a year. And so increases are given based on performance, which is a huge motivating factor for folks, as I say that I would also love to be a part of the MDP so I can get reviewed for compensation twice a year. But that is a huge perk of the program to really encourage the learning aspect and developing aspect of the program. So there are a few pictures here of our MDPs in North America. So we have a few pictures of those in Chicago. There's a boat cruise. We have a few workshop pictures. We have a bowling event that we went to at the bottom. We have a panel, and I think a few folks went running, which I always say, if anyone asks me to run, you're in trouble. I will not run. But here are a few pictures really just showing that we do really encourage MDPs to have that community aspect, and we host quarterly social events where they're able to really grow with each other and grow their network. Here are a few of the perks that we do have at Morningstar. So we have a Morningstar Scholars, we have education stipend, LinkedIn Learning, CFA reimbursement, and shared ownership plan. So I will let you read through these. But this is truly because we believe that companies should grow but never grow stale. And so we've built a place that keeps moving with benefits and perks to match. And without further ado, I would love to pass it over to Anna. So Anna will go through her journey. And again, we will leave room for Q&A at the end.
Awesome. Thanks, Vijayita. And Anna, thank you also for such a nice introduction. Hello, everyone on the call. I was having such a nice time reading everybody saying where they're from. So hello, my name is Anna. I am in Chicago, and I think it's partly cloudy today, so there's some sun peeking out, and it's dry, which is another plus. So yeah, I'm excited to tell you about my journey through Morningstar today. I've hit my 10-year mark in my technology career so far. So in a way, it also feels timely as a, a good time to look back and recap what's happened so far. So I'll tell you about really, I would say there's two key lessons that MDP taught me that was valuable to make the best of my time while in the program, and also that have stayed with me, that I've used as a guiding light as I've moved through the rest of my career so far. I know all of our paths are different, but I hope that my example will help you get started as you are early in your journeys. All right, so yeah, before I talk about my work at Morningstar, I actually thought I'd tell you a little bit about how I ended up in technology. I'm a bit of a career changer, and I did it very early on, but basically I originally studied economics. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was convinced that it wasn't computer science. And it's funny because my dad is a software engineer, so I knew what is programming. We always had a computer at home. I was very encouraged to, I learned to make websites when I was pretty young. So kind of 12, 13, 14 years old, I was making GeoCities websites. This is before there was social media, so this was the time to kind of express yourself, have your homepage. So I had a lot of fun doing that, but at the same time, I think, well, one, this is early 2000s, so tech as a career path isn't as obvious and visible as it is today, kind of just in the media at large. And two, at that time, I honestly can say I couldn't think of one woman that was a software engineer that I could imagine where like, oh yes, this could be something that I do for work. So I, was convinced that CS wasn't for me. And really what happened is when I graduated with econ in 2009, it was kind of the middle of the financial crisis. And it was really tough to find a job in finance, especially. So blessing in disguise, I'll tell you, because it gave me a time to pause and reevaluate. And I thought, well, I did like actually building things on the computer, so maybe I should give it a try. And I ended up kind of taking that year to figure out what I'm doing. And then I reapplied to get a second bachelor's actually in computer science. That took me 2.5 years. And then finally I was on my way. So I wanted to tell you this because I think that especially among women, among underrepresented people in tech, it's so common that we don't think tech is for us. So if there's people in the audience, I see people chatting about their dad teaching them programming. So, if you're kind of in this boat and also thinking, oh gosh, am I, on track? Am I off track? I felt kind of behind as well, but things worked out. It's a long road we're all taking, and it's a windy one, but do believe that we'll all find our way. So yeah, I found my way to Morningstar. Econ was useful that I knew what Morningstar was. I had used their software in my previous internships. So I came to Morningstar, and I wasn't looking for a development program, but actually it was perfect for me because I didn't quite know what I wanted to do in tech. And also, funny timing, I was the very first person to be on the technology track of MDP. We didn't quite have that before. It was just kind of a broader program. But for the first time when I joined, it really became tailored for tech, and I'm very grateful for that. And even though it's changed a little bit, like I was in the program for 3 years, now it's 2, but the purpose is still the same. So it encourages you to try at least 2 different roles within tech. You get your peer group, so other MDPs who are in the same place in their careers that you can, kind of share your experience with. And also you get the more experienced mentors who help you with advice, how to make decisions, and really just a lot of those opportunities like Vijayita was telling you about, kind of the additional support and the programming that helps you build those skills early. So I think let's just jump into that first lesson, which is especially early on, I do believe that it was very helpful to get kind of a sample platter of experience in tech. You know, when I was studying CS, it was all about writing the code. And when I came to Morningstar, that's all I knew. And that's what I thought it was. You know, working in tech, you're writing the code. But actually, there's a lot more that goes into building software. There's a lot of different roles. There's product managers, there's engineers, there's QA engineers, there's the infrastructure, there's DevOps, there's security. I mean, it's a whole world. And so early on, if you get kind of a broad mental map of what's what, one, you might find that those other roles in tech are really interesting to you and that's what you want to do. But two, even if not, in order to collaborate well together, it's important to understand the other kind of folks on your team. So definitely, this was, I think, good advice. And for me, I needed a push to take this advice because my first role was really great, actually. So I was a QA automation engineer on the mobile team. And, you know, I loved the team. It was great. First of all, mobile 10 years ago was the happening thing. I felt like I was like in the place at Morningstar, figuring out how mobile can change the way that we, do business and, collaborate in the business world. And two, it was honestly just a fun team. We had every other Friday, we had a game night, kind of happy hour. And in order to raise funds to fund our snacks and our drinks, we would play this game where we had a word of the week that you weren't supposed to say. And if you say that word, you have to put $1 in like this boot that we had on the stand-up table. And this word was something like obviously that you would need to say a lot, like app or Jira or iPad. So it was just, it's just one of those fond memories. I look back on how we used to have like these vocabulary gymnastics trying to avoid saying app. But, so all that is to say, I felt really comfortable in my first team. And to be honest, when my mentor asked me if I was ready to move, I was like, I think this is it. Like, I'm loving it on this team. But his name was Chuck. He really kind of reminded me that, hey, it's still very early. And I know that it's scary to, you finally feel like you're productive and now again, jump into something different and start from zero. But for one, early on, you kind of have this golden ticket, MDP gives you the ability to try different things. And, that broad experience will be really valuable to set you up to become an even better technologist later on. So he pushed me and I took his advice. And so I went from the very kind of, let's say in the stack of our company, if at the very top is the product layer, so mobile applications, the product that we're building that's user facing, I went all the way down to the ground floor of the infrastructure world. And it was super useful. Honestly, this was right before public cloud became popular in Morningstar. Like today we use AWS. This was when we still had private data centers, but we were already using private cloud. So I got to learn all those concepts of, infrastructure as code that now is a complete, absolute must-have in our tool stack. So it was very good advice. And having kind of felt that, I was so scared to move, but I was able to pick it up and learn and feel good again, gave me the confidence to basically keep doing it. So as you see on my path, then I went back to mobile, but now in a different role, backend engineer. Then I moved again, this time to kind of, let's say, the middle of our company. So kind of the data engineering, data production layer. And I was backend and data engineer there. So moving through kind of these different experiences really did give me a broad learning experience of the different skills that you need. And actually on the next slide, I've kind of tried to group, I would say the skills that you need in your career in tech probably break down into these 3 pillars, 3 categories. The first one is obvious. Of course, it's the technical skills. It's the the languages that we use, the IDEs, the frameworks, the back-end engineering, front-end engineering. Like, yeah, that was obvious to me at the beginning. But what's become more obvious as I've kind of grown in my role is the domain knowledge and the professional skills are just as important, and maybe even, start to overtake, especially for me as I've kind of veered on the management track of things. So domain knowledge is like understanding what your company does. For Morningstar, it's investing, or whatever it may be, and also kind of the different domains of tech. There's product development, there's platform, there's security, and so on. And the professional skills, this is for everyone. It's the clear communication, it's building a network, it's learning to teach others, and to mentor and to lead. So this is kind of the collection of skills that truly you continue to gain throughout your journey. And for those second two buckets, the domain and the professional skills, that's where that second lesson and kind of the second part of MDP that really helped me proactively build those skills. And on the next slide, you'll see that the second lesson that I learned is to be proactive about getting involved and making yourself and your work visible. There's a lot of opportunities out there. MDP will make it easy for you to find, but later on, once you've gotten in the habit of participating, you just continue to do it, and you build a network, and you learn to lead and to teach others. For me, one thing that was challenging was actually presenting. So I never felt like I was a natural at this, always definitely nervous about presenting. But when I was an MDP at the time, every time we would switch roles, we would present to the CTO about what we did in our previous role. And I remember my first time presenting, it was actually coincided with an offsite at Morningstar, which is where like the CTO and a bunch of other very senior leaders gather like in another location to do a bunch of strategy and planning. So not only was I like, oh gosh, I'm presenting in front of the CTO, it's like all these leaders. So definitely nerve-wracking, but the support that I got from my manager to really work on the points that I was going to make my slides, practice, all of that helped a lot. And having done it, and then you feel good when you've presented and you've achieved this, then it gives you the confidence that it's okay, I can do this again, and I can do this again. So I've put some pictures on this slides as proof. So one of the ways that I've gotten to present is at the Women Who Code Connect conference in the past. And I had a talk about streaming data on Kafka. And there's a picture of us at the conference with other Morningstar employees. So yeah, this was another big lesson that I learned from MDP. And this is kind of a summary of what I've done after. So I graduated the program after 3 years. I was a software engineer. And then I got deeper into software engineering. So I became a senior, then I became a lead, a tech lead and a team lead. And then, so where that team lead role is, this is where I kind of faced the fork in the road. So basically my manager told me, at this time, maybe is a good time to think about what path you want to take. There's two paths in technology. And, if you go one way, you can always switch back and take the other. But one way is kind of continuing on the individual contributor track. You become a lead engineer, you become an architect, and so on. Or you can go on the management track, which means that you still do a lot of technology, but you kind of add, I would say, two other big focus areas. One of them is the what you're building. So deciding about why are we building this product? What's our business strategy? And the third one being the team. So you're taking care of the people that report to you. You're taking care of the development and the happiness of the people that work in your group. So to me, I always liked the big picture. So it was a pretty easy choice. And yeah, so today I'm an engineering manager in one of our groups. And So remember, as I said, these lessons have stayed with me. So kind of as proof, I'm sort of layering in. I continued to sample platter as I've moved later on. When I thought about, okay, if I want to do the management track, if I think of, a head of technology that I know at Morningstar, and I think of what they're like in meetings, they will be in a meeting talking about testing and they'll put their QA hat on. And they'll be in a meeting about operations and they'll put their SRE hat on. So they have this broad understanding of everything that it takes to build software well. And so I figured I need to add more to my basket. So I moved to operations. This was also, it was nervous to make the jump, but it was definitely good. And then I tried product as well. And truly now, in a manager role, it really is all of those things combined that I use every day. Yeah, and to wrap up that second lesson about being proactive about getting involved, I've definitely also kept this up. And it's kind of you give and you take, you get involved and you learn a lot that helps you in your job. And also other people know who you are, they know what you do, and they'll bring opportunities to you. One specific thing I want to highlight is Vijayita talked about DEI, and specifically, for example, employer resource groups. That's one really good way to get involved early. I'm the global lead of our Women in Tech organization now, and me and a couple other women started it back when we were MDPs. And it's such a great way to learn how to strategize. You're almost like a little startup within a company, and you're thinking, what are our goals? What are our resources? Like, what's the next thing we want to build? So kind of the organizational, the leadership skills, a lot of what I learned there is the stuff that I'm doing nowadays, every day for my job. So definitely I'm grateful to MDP for what they taught me. And it's really nice now getting, in touch with our current MDPs and kind of seeing people grow their careers. So that's my journey. I hope that this was a useful example that you can take on your path, and definitely happy to answer questions about anything I talked about, or maybe something I didn't talk about that you're curious. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. That was so exciting. You're both wonderful speakers. So it was a pleasure to listen to you. And thank you, Anna, I loved that picture at the Women Who Code event. All the Women Who Code people are getting very excited in the chat. So we have a lot of questions that I want to apologize to everyone in the audience in advance, but we are not unfortunately going to be able to answer all of them. However, there are Women Who Code people and Morningstar people in the Q&A also typing out answers. I really want to shout out our partners at Morningstar who are like on top of all of the questions that they can answer. So for the Q&A, we're going to focus more on like general questions and a little bit less on like the logistics of applying and where you have to live and things like that. So I want to start off with Vijayita and just talk a little bit about your bio and also your role, because we get this question a lot about accessibility, about programs like this, and people who have different accessibility needs for a variety of disabilities. And so can you talk a little bit about the program and when you advise people to bring up the accessibility accommodation discussion? And yes, let's start with that question.
Of course, I would love that. So thank you all for joining. I will touch on accessibility. So in terms of why I'm so passionate about it, I actually do have an invisible physical disability, and it's been hard to navigate. So I definitely connect with the community. And it's always a little uncomfortable talking to employers about it and figuring out what their process is and if they're even inclusive of accessibility needs. So at Morningstar, I recommend, and actually everywhere, that you bring up your accessibility needs as soon as you feel comfortable, because then the employer will be able to action it that much sooner. So at Morningstar, I actioned it when I was accepting my offer letter. Of course, if you feel comfortable to bring that up after you accept your offer letter, that's totally fine. After that, the designated talent and culture or people and culture representative that you're coordinating with will be able to walk you through the next steps in terms of your accessibility requirements and needs. So once you start with us, we do have a third party that we work with that they come and kind of go through everything that you need for accessibility to make sure that you are set up to successfully work and that you are the most efficient while you're working and you're well supported. After that, we make sure that you have all of your equipment and that, you are then set up to be able to work as you prefer. And so we are quite supportive throughout the process. We have HR business partners here, so human resource business partners that support you throughout that process and will guide you as well. So they are your first point of contact, and they've supported me throughout my process as well.
Thank you so much. Okay, a couple more questions about the program, and then I'm going to pass it over to Anna for some questions. Something that came up a lot, and your colleagues at Morningstar did answer, that the program is for people from 0 to 2 years of experience. But can you talk a little bit more about, we have a lot of boot camp grads in our community, and so I've seen that a lot in this Q&A, and so would just like to hear from you to just cover, like, can people from boot camps apply? Like, what are the educational requirements for the program?
Yeah, so the 0 to 2 years of work experience applies after a graduation, like a bachelor's program and equivalent. So boot camp folks, if you have, just under 2 years, you can still apply and it's still relevant. So we look for post-grad, we look for those with computer science background, software engineering, et cetera, but boot camp experience is also just as great. And we do look at that experience as well. So we do look at those who graduated anywhere from like a year and a half ago. So even if you completed a boot camp, a year ago and now you're open to employment, you can apply to the program as long as you fit within that profile. And just that's just to ensure that everyone is getting an equal opportunity to develop and take part in this program. As you have years of experience, you kind of go through a different process and pathway. And I encourage you to look at our other other roles available on our career site as well. But for the program itself, anything 0 to 2 years of experience and anywhere from like 1 to 2 years of graduation date. You're just muted, Anna.
Thank you. So this question is for both of you. I'd love to hear both of your perspectives on this. I know, Anna, you said you were like the first person to be in the technology track, but Annie in the Q&A wanted to know, for the technology track, how would you define a successful candidate? So I'd like to turn this actually first to Anna. Like, what about, in your experience, like, I think you said a little bit about this, but like, how did you kind of match with that track, if that makes sense? And let me know if you want more info. And then also from Vijayita, I would love your perspective as well, but let's start with Anna.
Yeah, well, I chose the technology track because I knew that I wanted to do some kind of, software engineering type of work to start my career. So that was kind of the fork there. We had the business or the technology track. And for me, I knew that I wanted to apply to technology. But in terms of what skills you should have coming in, it's not about, like knowing a very particular kind of language or a particular set of tools or set of technologies. We're all coming from a different background. Some of us may have learned Python in school. Some of us may have learned C++. Whatever it may be, it doesn't matter, because actually, as it is in tech all the time, you will end up having to learn something new very soon anyways. So we really look for just the willingness to learn, the kind of having the bravery to jump into a team and a domain that you don't know yet and just do your best. Just be open to collaborating with your teammates, learning what you don't know, sharing what you do know, because that helps you learn and your teammates learn as well. So I would say just kind of that mindset of teamwork and willingness to keep going.
Yeah, to add on to that, so flexibility and adaptability are really important. So Morningstar started as a very small company. It's quickly grown over the years. In Toronto itself, we've hired over 800 employees last year. So being able to adapt to teams changing and, new leadership and new faces, and especially in the MDP, we're providing tons of opportunities for you to get involved. And so being adaptable and being flexible in those are really important. So if you take on a stretch project, for example, that we offer, which is a project with a different team, we want you to get that experience and take advantage of it and adapt to that team as well and work with them and get to expand your network. So being flexible in that way is really important, especially as Morningstar is expanding quite quickly and we have a lot going on for our employees. So that's my kind of two pieces, is being adaptable and being flexible.
Great, thank you. So Anna, everyone is like very excited about your career journey. Thank you so much for seeing that. I have a question kind of to kick us off a little bit. And I think that, people get a lot of different advice when they're first starting out about like staying in one place, or moving like every 2 years or something like that. And it's really incredible that you've like been there for 10 years. You've really, really grown. So you said a little bit about this, but before we get into people's questions, can you just talk a little bit more about what benefited from staying in a company from 10 years? Like what experience did you get to have that maybe someone who went to different companies would not have had?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely two ways that you can do this, and there is no right way or wrong way. Honestly, everybody has a different road to walk. So I stayed at Morningstar because, one, we do have a lot of internal mobility. Like, as you can see, I've changed jobs, many times. So even though I've been in the same four walls, so to speak, or kind of in the same organization, it was still crucial, at least I felt, to do different kinds of things, and I was able to do that. So then two, it's really nice when you find a great company to work at. So it's everything from the culture to how, in how we interact within our teams, the interaction between, someone like me coming in that's just fresh out of school, collaborating directly with senior architects and, leaders across the company. There's no offices. Everybody is equal at Morningstar. And I think kind of that culture and the support that I've gotten here, both in MDP and honestly, since it is a part of our culture afterwards, because it's been my managers watching out for me, seeing, as I say that I'm interested in doing something, always offering me to do things that's not for the benefit of that one team. Of course, in the short term, you want to keep your good engineer on your team so you can get stuff done. But Morningstar truly believes in investing in the people that we have so that they stay. They gain the understanding of our domain, so kind of understanding investing, understanding who our clients are. And as we move through different parts of the org, we're that much better at, building software that's actually meaningful and useful to the clients that we serve. So I support both paths. Honestly, you can't say that one is better than the other. It is a good idea to change companies. You get a broad, different kinds of domains, different, you can try healthcare, you can try, automotive. I think that's also very cool. For me, it's worked to build my expertise here.
I love that. I have had previous careers in education. I always would tell students like, you need domain knowledge. And to see you say that, I was so happy. So following up on that, a lot of people have asked kind of, you've had all these different roles and there was a lot of internal mobility, and they want to know how many years kind of in each role. So I'll expand on that a little bit. Like, I think a couple of things about this area is when is it okay to kind of talk to your manager about advancement? Like when did you feel like I feel ready to have that conversation? And then also kind of when did you, and then if not, if you were completely switching, like what sparked your interest to switch?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this question, there's a bit of a difference between when my titles changed and when I was seeking and starting to do different kinds of things or doing more things. Those were not always the same conversation and not always the same timeline. And actually, to be honest, even on my slides, like I kind of wrote my titles to match what I was doing. But my title actually, for example, was technology manager for a long time while I was acting as a product manager or acting as a operations manager. In terms of like when is a good time, it does depend on what you're doing. You know, some teams are working on a really big platform and there's a lot to learn, and it can, you know, it can keep you busy for a while and it can keep you learning, and maybe it takes longer, whereas in another occasion it might be shorter. So maybe I would say starting out, I needed probably a year of kind of getting settled. When I moved for the first time, I think it was about a year in when I switched to infrastructure. And then that rotation was shorter. So this is where kind of the types of things that I'm doing came into play. But yeah, I would say maybe a year is a good marker at the beginning. Later on, yeah, you know, it started to ebb and flow. For times I was doing almost kind of two things at the same time. And eventually I was like, you know, I was both the tech lead and our data squads and also starting to help out on operations. You know, it's a messy thing, careers. I wish it was very clean cut, but you just kind of flow with it. And I think it's just important to be open with your manager. If you're interested in something, speak up, because honestly, they are trying to be a good, so to speak, concierge for you and for your career. And they may not know that you're interested in something, but when you are, they're like, okay, I've got this. And next time I see an opportunity that lines up with this, I'll bring it to you. So that's what I would say to people on my team. Just as soon as you're ready and interested, just bring it up and we'll find you an opportunity.
That's great. Thank you. So this next question is actually for both of you, I would say. So Sylvia, and this is a very common question. Sylvia wants to know like a good approach to seeking out mentors, because I imagine both of you have both been mentors and mentees, and I would love to hear experience of that, even though, you know, Vijayita, you're on the talent side. Still, we would love to hear your experience, kind of what makes a successful mentorship in your opinion. And then, so we can start with Vijayita and then Anna.
Sure. So just so I understand the question, is it the relationship, like the mentor-mentee relationship, and ensuring that you're kind of on the same page, or like how to direct that?
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
that's how I understand it.
Okay, perfect. So I would say for a mentee and mentor relationship, it's really important. And for our mentorship program, we encourage you to set the guidelines and the boundaries of what you're looking for. So if you are going to ask for a mentor or take on a mentee, make sure that you're on the same page in terms of expectations. So it just say, if I'm looking for a mentor and I want to learn about leadership skills and I want to focus on XYZ under leadership, so get exposure to different, maybe leading an ERG and leading like a colleague, right? So ensuring that those boundaries are, or those expectations are clearly communicated, and then any boundaries too, right? Like, you know, I only prefer to work with a 9 to 5, although with a global company, it's a bit hard, but, you know, being respectful of everyone's boundaries in terms of what we're looking for and how much capacity we do have to take on a mentor or a mentee is really important. Our program, we do allow for the cadence to fall on the MDPs and the mentor directly to decide. So I would say, you know, make sure that you know what you're looking for and go into it with a bit more of a clear mindset so that your mentor can guide you. And if you have a mentee, then making sure that you are supporting them. And if you're not able to, then looping in another colleague who might be able to step in and help guide them as well.
Yeah, and what has your experience been, Anna?
Yeah, I would add maybe one thing is when I was younger, I was pretty shy about reaching out to mentors sort of out of the blue if it wasn't a part of a mentoring program and I had signed up. But since kind of later on, as people started to reach out to me and I saw, oh, hey, yeah, this is actually fun. It's interesting to talk to them. We learn from each other. They ask me really good questions that I'm like, oh, that's a good question. I should think about that for myself too. So I guess that is to say, I used to be very shy about reaching out, but don't be, as long as, like Vijayita was saying, you are clear about what you're looking for. And as a mentee, you come prepared with, talking about if you have specific questions or you just want to talk about a subject in general, just kind of be prepared and your mentor is there for you. And as a mentor, if you're just getting started and it's the first time where you feel like, oh, now I have to give advice. I hope that I have good advice. Don't stress it. Basically, whatever experience you have, you'll share it. And if someone has a request and you don't know how to fulfill it, then kind of being a mentor or being a manager is also just a part of taking this request and just asking and seeing who else might have something that they can suggest. So you can kind of be that conduit to connect people, to get ideas flowing, and you're in the middle, you're learning as well. But your commitment is that you're going to do your best. And that's it. So you don't have to wait for, oh, I have to be this level of experience before I can be a mentor to someone.
Great, thank you. So we're coming to our end. And so I'd love to end with this question from Hadass. And just noting that you've been at Morningstar for a while and seeing how the culture changed. But I also thought, Anna, one thing that was really interesting about your journey is that you were one of the founders of this employee resource group, like pretty quickly after starting it. Did I get the time right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Hadass wants to know kind of how you've seen the culture change and how your employee research has grown, and other programs with diversity and inclusivity. And if Vijayita, you have anything to add, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, it's honestly also been very cool to be on this ride here in my time at Morningstar and watching our DEI programming grow so much. Yeah, so I was an MDP. I was, I'm like, I'm raising my hand when opportunities come. So this opportunity came. At first, it was actually just get involved in our women's initiative, which was kind of the broader women's ERG. And as I got started, then we figured, hey, but in tech, we have a lot of kind of specific things we want to focus on, and we set out on our own. It was completely bottoms up. We did have support of talent and culture encouraging us to organize, but at that time, Morningstar didn't yet have dedicated roles for DEI, whereas today we have people hired to Morningstar whose purpose is to focus on this, focus on the well-being of our employees here and how much we feel like we belong and how much we feel that we can grow, so that, kind of as I was saying before, it's so important for us to retain people at Morningstar. And I've seen this happen hands-on. So from the very beginning, when we were like, wouldn't it be cool if we went to a conference? All right, well, I guess we should ask the CTO and make a little budget. And, and then you see that was possible. You thought of it, you dreamed it, and you made it. And yeah, we've made a lot of great things since then.
Yeah, I would say, I will leave. That was a great note to end off on, Anna, but I will just say that I'm also part of the Canada chapter. So although I'm not a woman in tech, I am a huge ally and I'm very passionate about it. So, we put on multiple events throughout the year. Right now, we're in collaboration with Women's Initiative Network, where we're putting on events for Women's History Month. So happy Women's History Month to all those who identify as women. And we are doing multiple things such as panels, speakers. We're doing a self-coaching workshop. We're doing a cocktail hour next week. So there's lots of opportunities here to get involved and feel that community aspect and be a part of ERGs. And DEI is a huge, huge part of our everyday lives as well.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you to the Morningstar colleagues in the chat and the Q&A, Margot and Colin like answering, and then Vijayita, I saw you too. Thank you so much. And thank you to the audience who has been so active and appreciative. And thank you, Anna, for sharing your journey. We've reached the end of our time. So everyone, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, depending where you are in the world. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.